Lynn, you went through a tinnitus journey and you've improved your condition quite a bit. Would you like to share what's worked for you and bring us back to when this all started? What were you going through?
Okay. It all started in January of 2020. My husband and I were watching a movie, and all of a sudden, ringing in my ears started. I didn't know what it was about or anything. So that's when my journey started. And I visited with my ENT. I went to two of them, and all they could recommend was hearing aids. And it was a pretty frustrating experience because I got the hearing aids and they couldn't offer any other counseling or anything else. So I worked on that for a while. And then I went to another clinic that specialized in really people with Meniere's disease. But through that, I got connected with a gentleman who helps by hypnotizing people. But that didn't work for me because I'm a very go-getter kind of person and I can't have a hard time relaxing. And what I needed was somebody that could kind of train me with cognitive behavior skills or tinnitus retraining. And I came across you guys through YouTube and I just started listening to some of your cast and then I signed up and it was just like it turned everything around. My whole mindset of how to deal with this, the fact that, although it's not curable, you can be taught how to live with it. And that's so important when you are feeling very hopeless, that this will never end. And I just found it so beneficial, the things that you taught me, the skills that your audiologist taught me. And it's just opened up a whole new world for me. And I just want this experience to share it with other people.
Thank you, Lynn. And tell us about over the time frame that you worked with us and over the time frame that from when your tinnitus started to where you are now, how much time has that been? And how has the intensity of your tinnitus, of your tinnitus changed over time?
Well, initially, I'll be honest with you, I was reading a little bit on my own about cognitive behavior. So it started in January. And then in May of that year, my home flooded. We moved and my home flooded. And it was a very stressful experience because, it took us about almost a year to get back in our house. And we had some lovely friends that let us live with them, but it was a very tense time. Plus, I had a very stressful job. And so the tinnitus came back and it came back with a vengeance. And that's when I came across you guys, when it came back. And it kind of, you guys taught me how to get it back into perspective and get a better handle on it. And so it's almost been 2 years. I'll be 2 years in January, but I've been better. I think I contacted y'all about 4 months ago and worked with y'all a good almost 2 months. And then I kind of felt so much better that I could kind of handle it on my own. But yet I had the reassurance that I could call y'all back anytime I needed any further help or instructions. Plus, two, y'all give a lot of good tips, through email. And I like your podcast too. And those are the kind of things you need to have, to continue on a positive journey with this.
Yeah, you really have shown a positive journey with this, and we're happy to celebrate that and to showcase that to the rest of our community because that hope, that optimism, that encouragement, the motivation, that's huge to get over the mental, emotional, psychological blocks that can sometimes come with living with constant ringing in your ears, in your head, right? So you said that you
Right.
learned some valuable skills. You said that you got some tangible techniques, skills, things you can do. What were those things that you learned working with a specialist from Treble Health? What were those tinnitus tools that you put in your toolkit to help you better manage this?
Okay. One, I got a recommendation that I get sound therapy put into I did added into my hearing aids. So, and that works really good when you're in that quiet area of time. Sometimes you can turn it on that sounds, and that kind of takes your mind off of it. So that was a real good piece of information. that I learned from you guys. And then learning how to relax. We did a session on that, how to relax and bringing, getting in a relaxed feeling that kind of lowers it and helps you manage it. And then behavior, the way you think and you deal with this is the major thing. The thought patterns that I was coached on by the audiologist were just, those were just game changers.
I love that. So, what are those quiet situations for you? You mentioned that the sound therapy is very helpful when you're in quiet situations. For you, in your average day, it seems like you're in an office setting right now. Do you work in an office? Is that the quiet situation that was most challenging with your tinnitus?
Yes, I work in an office and, it's busy, the phone rings and things like that. But there are periods, length of time where there's not any sound. And sometimes, it might come back and then I just click on the hearing aid and I'm fine with the sound.
Yeah, that's a common situation. And I'm sure many of our listeners here are also looking for help in quiet places. If you're watching this on YouTube, please comment below helpful so Lynn and I know that this story, this motivational success story with tinnitus is helpful for you. Lynn, you mentioned those behavior changes, those mental strategies, not reacting negatively, but instead changing the reaction, changing the response. In a matter of months, you've shown that your brain can habituate to tinnitus. Was it a impact of tinnitus? Did the volume also change? Tell us about your habituation over those months. Was it just the awareness and how much tinnitus is annoying you or impacting you? And how did the volume, if at all, change during those months, the volume of your tinnitus?
Okay. With the thought pattern changing, my reaction changed to it. The body didn't get all upset. You know how the body, like that fear, like, oh, it's back. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, once when you look at it in a different way, and it's not going to be anything that you're not seriously ill, just thinking about it in a different manner, the volume of it just decreases to something that sometimes I'm not even aware of it. It's just the mindset and how you react to it. For me, is more important than anything.
I love that. And that's very in line with what the research supports as well, that having cognitive behavioral strategies is so important to promote habituation. And in your case, you paired that with sound therapy. So, our experience, we're a group of audiologists at Treble Health. We work 100% via telehealth nationwide. And when someone comes to us, those are the two major things that we try to get as your foundation for care because the cognitive behavioral strategies, those mental strategies for how to live better with this, they actually help you reduce the sound. It's counterintuitive. Some people might not understand, but those mental strategies actually help get to the goal of improved tinnitus. And then the sound therapy as well. Those sound therapies that we use, devices on the ears that are programmed for tinnitus sound therapy, like those that are offered at Treble Health, like those that can also be found at certain clinics, when they're programmed specifically for tinnitus by a specialist who's an audiologist who works with tinnitus patients a lot, then the success of using sound therapy is very high. And in your case, you're showing that when you paired both of them together, this tinnitus spike that was real and annoying and loud that lasted a period of time, you were able to retrain your brain after a few months. And the sound has gotten softer too, it sounds like. So this is just a really good case study for anyone listening of the benefits of both of those strategies. Do you have any other words of wisdom, Lynn? Words of encouragement, words of wisdom for someone else who may be in the position you were in back months ago when this was loud and bothersome and causing you to really think about, oh my gosh, I need some help. What should I do?
Yes. The fact is too, what's more important is that you get sleep because, it's kind of like a thing that kind of piles on each other. If you don't get your proper rest and you're tired and it makes you a little weaker. So the most important thing I worked on too was going to sleep, trying to get to sleep. And I would take and put that music or wear earplugs and to have that sound, which got me back into a good sleep cycle too. I was using sound again to sleep. So once I was able to get my sleep patterns more concise, I was a little bit stronger to move forward with, learning the other thinking techniques, not letting my body get all upset. And it all just kind of came together. I mean, it's kind of strange. when you start, make sure you get your rest and then don't let your body get upset. And you know that this tinnitus is not going to kill you, and that you can learn to habituate and live with it. It's a skill, and it's not difficult to do, but it does take a lot of work and reframing the way you think. Does
Mm.
that make sense?
Absolutely, that makes sense. And to be clear for anyone listening, those skills that come, you can learn some of them online at your own pace. There is a self-help method for this, but the premier way to get help, which is what Lynn used, is working one-on-one with a specialist. And
Yes.
the truth is that therapists, psychologists, therapists, they're the best counselors in our society. They're the best counselors in the
Hmm.
professional community, but they may not know that much about tinnitus. And most of the anxiety here in our community is about tinnitus. So sometimes
Hmm.
working with other therapists can be a challenge for tinnitus because they might not know all the nuances of how tinnitus works and what can be done about it. They're going to provide excellent care for anxiety, sleep, stress, other forms of talk therapies. However, sometimes you just need questions answered about your tinnitus. It's not so much anxiety in other parts of your life. So an audiologist who's well trained in tinnitus can sometimes be a much better counselor for someone who's struggling with tinnitus than a therapist. Now, many of our patients use both at the same time, and that's okay too. I'm here to simply share some pros and cons and some considerations. So anyone else who's listening can make their own decisions because that's all that we care about is providing high quality information to help with your health literacy, right? With your health outcomes. But Lynn, is that what you noticed here? Tell me if I'm wrong, that an audiologist who's very well trained in tinnitus can really answer all the questions you have and provide that targeted counseling for tinnitus.
Absolutely, yes. Because I'm just going to share this with you. I live in a pretty large town, and there was not anybody who was really specialized in tinnitus. I'm serious. Till I found you guys. And then it was just so good to have a conversation with somebody who knew and understood this and could explain why this is happening to you, what you can expect. And yes, it's not a hopeless thing like, oh, you've got tinnitus, you have to live with it. Well, you have to get somebody to teach you, to instruct you how to live with it. I'm sorry, you do. I mean, and I've talked to so many people that have it, and they said, God, I wish I could find somebody that could teach me how to live with it. I said, it's easy. And give them Treble Health. But that's the good thing. And what I want to tell you this too, after you have your sessions, you were always so good, the audiologist, in sending you a summary of what we discussed. So, you didn't feel like you had to just make sure you were grasping everything. After the session was over, you got an email of the summary of everything that we discussed, and also some alternate sources and resources. So that was very valuable too.
Yeah. Lynn, you've shared so much, and we're very supportive of your continued health and success. If you want to ask Lynn a question or ask us a question, you can do two things. Number one, you can let us know by leaving a comment on YouTube underneath this video if you have any follow-up questions from this interview with Lynn. And if you'd like to have a free consultation with an audiologist from Treble Health, you can head over to treblehealth.com and we will take excellent care of you. We focus 100% on tinnitus. That is our passion, and we can answer some of your most challenging questions where perhaps other doctors didn't provide any information for. Lynn, thank you so much for volunteering and sharing your story, and we wish you well.
Thank you very much. And thank everyone on your staff that helped me through this journey. I totally appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care. Thank you for watching today's video with Treble Health. Check out our next video by clicking the button on this screen or another recommended video. And if you're not already, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks so much. See you on the next video.